Hey, me hearties, gather round and lend an ear to all Cap'n Blisterfoot's thoughts on this scallywag Salmondella's bittersweet tale of life on the briny deep. Listen up, ye scurvy curs, 'cause I've a bone to pick with that blitherin' claim that it sucked to be a pirate. Whoever penned such drivel clearly never felt the salt spray on his face or the thrill of the creaking deck beneath him boots.
At some point, every kid has dreamed about being a swashbuckling, corn-shuckling, wife-cuckling, cocksuckling pirate, but trust me when I say, it was really not all it's cracked up to be.
What in Poseidon's barnacled beard kind of nonsense is that? First off, every kid should dream of being a swashbuckling pirate. It's the pinnacle of freedom and fury. As for corn-shuckling and all that other bollocks, ye sound like a drunken parrot squawkin gibberish after falling in a grog barrow, and saying it weren't all it's cracked up to be. That's the words of a man who's never felt the thrill of swinging from a mast with a blade in his teeth and a pouch of stolen gold at his side. Don't go pissing on the dream just 'cause you couldn't hack the life, you land-crawling cabbage.
First, we'll talk about the food. So one staple of the pirate diet was salted meat, usually wild oxen or pork. And I love jerky as much as the next guy, but this wasn't like a bag of Jack Links. In fact, it was probably closer in texture to your shoes than any meat you've ever eaten.
You soft-palmed Nancy, crying about the chewiness of salted meat like some dainty tavern wench. Aye, it was tough. You had to work your jaw like a blacksmith's bellows to break it down. But that meat kept us fed across leagues of open sea when the nearest fresh grub was weeks away. Jack Links? Ha! If ye want something soft and buttery, go eat a biscuit with the Queen. But aboard a pirate ship, you eat like a beast, and you live like one too.
Another essential food item was known as hardtack. This was essentially just flour and water baked into a cracker-like brick.
Aye, hardtack, the brick of the gods, lad. Just flour and water, you say, like it's some kind of insult. But lemme tell ye, when ye've been sailing 3 weeks through storm and cannon fire with nothing but brine in your belly, that crusty slab tastes like ambrosia. Aye, it'll chip a molar or two, but that's why you soak it in rum, not cry over it like a baby denied his pudding cup.
Beyond the fact that it was totally flavorless, hardtack was also extremely dense, to the point where pirates would often have to slam their fists down on it in order to break it into pieces small enough to fit in their mouth. As long as it was kept dry, hardtack almost never spoiled, although it often became infested with weevils.
Oh, boo bloody ho, me hearty! Flavorless and dense, ye say? Sounds like half the crew after a night of rum. But aye, we did have to beat the hell out of hardtack sometimes, because hardtack weren't made for dainty landlubbers with velvet tongues. It were forged for sea dogs what chew iron and spit lightning. And the weevils, ye say? Ha! Blessed be the wriggling wee bastards. They gave the biscuit a bit of crunch and kicked a bit of life into an otherwise dull bite. Some of us even named 'em, kept us company on long voyages. Long as it weren't moving faster than the ship, down it went.
Then there's the crowding. So pirate ships typically packed in as many crew members as possible, because more pirates means more manpower when you go to board an enemy ship. Of course, the downside to that is that you're basically like a bunch of hairy, unwashed sardines.
Aye, we were packed tighter than a Spanish treasure chest. And hairy and unwashed? Damn right. We wore our stink like armor. It kept the rats scared, and the merchants pissing their silken breeches. You think some perfumed nobleman's gonna fight back when he smells a deck full of sweat, sea, and slaughter coming his way? He'll toss the loot and pray we don't take his boots too.
The poor diet and cramped conditions led to disease being a huge problem aboard pirate ships. The most well-known of these diseases is scurvy, where you don't get enough vitamin C.
Aye, scurvy got a few lads now and then. The seas were ripe with sickness, scurvy, fever, pox, and worse. But that just meant you had to be tougher than the devil's own toenails. Vitamin C? What in David Jones' name is that? some landlubber tonic sold in fancy shops. We didn't whimper about vitamin C like some apothecary's apprentice. If we found a lemon, we'd bite it whole, peel and all, then chase it with gunpowder and spit in Neptune's eye.
Also, some people say that alcoholism is a disease. I might just be disturbed, but that's one sickness I could definitely get down with. If it is a disease, then yeah, just about every pirate had this one. If anything, though, I'd call that one of the few upsides of pirate life.
You say you'd get down with that disease. Now you're speaking like a proper matey. 'Twas the lifeblood of every ship and the cure for every cursed day under the black flag. So aye, Sammy boy, you found a wee spot of common ground with this old sea dog.
Finally, there's the combat. When pirates boarded a ship, 9 times out of 10, they'd just surrender immediately. Because what are a bunch of well-groomed merchants gonna do against a horde of disgusting barbarians?
Ho ho ho! Now that be the truth, wrapped in cannon smoke. Sam, me lad, you finally telling it like it is. Aye, when the black flag flew and our boots hit their rails, most of them powder dandies dropped their swords faster'n their breeches.
If the defending ship did decide to fight back, though, the resulting brawl wouldn't be anything like the movies. It'd be way worse, like immediate R rating. Because pirates rely a lot on brutality, both because they don't have much real training, and because it scares the shit out of people.
Now you be speaking of fools with more courage than sense. Any deckhand what dared raise steel against a barden crew of sea-hardened dogs weren't long for this world, let me tell you true. 'Tweren't personal, it were business. The quicker we made a horror of one, the quicker the rest dropped to their knees, begging for mercy. You stood your ground, you paid the price in blood. That's the way of the sea, and no parlour duel or fine coats gonna save you from it.
Honestly, if Jack Sparrow got attacked by actual pirates, he wouldn't last a second.
Ho ho ho! Now there's the truth, sharper'n a cutlass in a gut. That Sparrow fop, Jack is it? Aye, he's got the swagger, I'll grant you that. But put that dainty rake on a real deck in the thick of a Barden raid, and he'd be pissing his pantaloons before the first shot rang out.
That's all for today. Till next time, I'm Salmonella, and thank you for watching.
So there you have it, you wide-eyed deck apes and land-crawling lubbers. The truth of the pirate's life, not the glimmering lies you've been fed by tales and taverns. Aye, it weren't all gold and glory, but by thunder, it weren't all misery neither. The meat was tough, the biscuits were bug-bitten bricks, the decks were foul, the air thick with grog and sweat. But we had freedom, lad, freedom bought with blood, salt, and fire. So to you, Sam, you clever scribbler, I still say you painted darker than it was, but I'll grant you this. The pirate's life weren't for the soft of belly or faint of heart. Now raise your cups, ye sorry sons of sea wenches, and drink to the black flag, the open sea, and the mad fools what dared call themselves pirates. May the wind favour your sails, and the navy never catch your scent.